Happy holiday, nerds. Your mom just spent $79 on that hacker hoodie that says trust me. While real juniors are out here making money with a $29 YubiKey and a Raspberry Pi.
So today we're saving your holiday with a 2025 Christmas list that actually gets you hired, makes you dangerous, and the coal that you should burn before anyone unwraps it.
Spoiler alert, if it's not on the list, it's probably malware.
This is the DTF Cyber Podcast. I'm Damian.
This is Troy.
And it's your boy, St. Nicholas Fern. Let's go. I have right next to me the one and only mailbox that goes straight to the North Pole. So today we're talking about the things that you don't want from Santa and the things that you do. But we're going to start off with the gifts that you definitely do not want if you're either in cyber already or looking to get in. You think under $50 is a good price range to start with?
Well, I don't know what most parents try to buy their kids that, you know, if you're saying, hey, I want to get into hacking, I want to get into cybersecurity. What do parents go out there and try to buy, right? That probably don't make sense.
I know the first thing, the hacker hoodie. Can we just stop people from buying those?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, do you walk into the bank with a hoodie that says bank robber? Like, does that make sense? Or what about boarding an airplane? I mean, Troy and I travel all the time. Board the airplane that says bomber or hostage taker.
I don't know if they'd actually let you on, but I've never seen people with hacker hoodies. So I've been to a lot of events, and usually it's just like hoodies in general. But I know that there are some people that have like very specific type of hoodies, like for companies. So are you saying that any kind of hoodie is just off limits?
Well, I don't know. Not any kind of hoodie, but I'm just saying that one hoodie that says hacker on it, probably a bit much.
Especially if you're just getting into the industry, right? You're trying to claim that spot and be famous for being a hacker, and you haven't made a name for yourself yet. I was actually on a plane right after reInvent last week, and I saw somebody wearing a hacker hoodie, which was funny because if you claim to be one, you better be good at it because people are going to challenge you. But yeah, they are out there for sure.
I just hopped on my phone and I looked up or Googled hacker clothing. I want you guys to guess what color every item is.
Gotta be black. Yeah, black hoodie.
It's black and they're hoodies. So I think the rule of thumb is if you know anyone in cyber, or if you're in cyber, the one thing you don't want for Christmas is the hacker, a hoodie in general, but especially one that says hacker.
Here's the thing. If you're going to be a physical pen tester, which is, a real job, you don't want to draw attention to yourself. So a lot of these people, we've done exercises where if you do a physical pen test and say it's within a healthcare situation, you're probably not going to wear that hoodie. You're going to be wearing a lab coat, right? With maybe some fake credentials and see if you can walk in. Or just dress as a patient and try to walk in and plug into an open port. So there's a real penetration tester is not going to be dressing like that. I mean, you might want to put that on, but don't leave the house. Put that hoodie on, sit in the basement and stay warm. Don't leave the house.
Interesting story is I read a book a while ago and it said most millionaires drive an F-150. Like the predominant car that millionaires drive is a Ford F-150. And I've seen a lot of Ford F-150s in my life. But when you think of a F-150, generally you don't think of, someone that's rich. You kind of wait for the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis. So I think this kind of goes in the same way. Like if you're actually good at, we'll say, hacking or certain things, you're probably not wearing a shirt that says that you are.
Absolutely. I mean, Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, still drives a 90s model Cadillac. So I think it goes to show that, people who really are successful and, have a ton of money don't flash it. And those who are trying to flash it may not exactly be as rich as you think they are. So it's a double-edged sword. And same thing goes in hacking, right? In cybersecurity, and hacking is a strong word, but in cybersecurity in general, people who talk a big game or flash credentials may not be as good as the silent hacker Damian's talking about that goes under the radar and actually does the real powerful work.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's definitely a terrible gift.
I did see something funny though. I think I was at a conference and they were handing out T-shirts that said "pen tester," but it was with a bunch of pens, and so you'd walk around with pens, like actual pens, right? A pen tester. So I thought that was kind of funny.
I'm for sure guessing it was like a security specific type of a thing, right?
Yeah, like I'm a pen tester. Here, you want a pen? I tested it already.
Now, I think there's a lot of certifications out there. There's a lot of people looking to get certifications. What is the one certification that you do not want to focus on if you're looking to get into security?
I don't know. I think it gets a lot simpler than that, right? Because a lot of parents, if you've got a teenager who wants to get into pen testing or wants to get into cybersecurity, what does a normal parent do, right? They go look for maybe a Kindle book, and that Kindle book on hacking for dummies or how to hack, probably not going to cut it. So I would stay away from stuff like that where it's really generic. Buying just these books that may have been created by AI is probably not going to help out somebody who wants to get into cybersecurity. But I don't know if there's anything that's out there that I would say, certification wise, it would have to be something that's recognized. And so if you go out there and you see this cybersecurity certification, but it's not backed by any organization, how do you know it's real? And how do you know that it carries any weight? So I'd be careful there if you're trying to, buy this person who's starting in cybersecurity a course or a book or a certification to get started, because it may not give the right foundations, may not give the right information.
Kind of like a book that says like hacking for dummies, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are books out there, hacking for dummies. Most of the ones I see, though, are created by vendors, to be honest. A lot of the dummies, for dummies, you'll see that it was actually sponsored by a vendor. So it's their brand, or it's their whatever they think they need to promote. They just put it into a dummies format.
I never even realized that there was a book like hacking for dummies. I was just, the first thing that came to mind, since I'm so old, is
oh, I don't know. There probably is. I'm sure somebody's created it.
There is. There's that one. There's the one you're thinking of, Damian. There's plenty, but cloud security for dummies, data security for dummies. Those are obviously vendor sponsored. And if you read them, whomever is the vendor promoting them has a very distinct flavor of language in the book.
I'm not saying they're all bad, right? They're just
not bad at all.
They may have some really good information, but just realize that they might be biased.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's tons of these hacking for dummies. Wow. Okay. And they're all like $5.
Oh, you get it. You can get them for free at any cyber conference. You show up at Black Hat or RSA, and I guarantee you'll be able to pick up like at least 5 to 10 of those.
So we covered the clothing, no hoodies, study material, nothing that is generic, right? Because it's not necessarily going to help you, right? I think there's so many things out there that you could get. Something that's very generic and just kind of, like Troy said, very vendor influenced, probably isn't going to be of much use. What else is a terrible gift?
Well, a lot of parents and people will probably go towards tools, let's say testing tools, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But the problem is that when you start to go and get knockoff tools, and so I started to do a search, and I saw that there's some popular tools, which we'll talk about later, that you may want to get, but there's knockoff ones that are cheaper that you can get from AliExpress or Temu probably. Do you really want to get that knockoff one because it's cheaper? Well, the answer is no, right? Because you would potentially be installing malware, or it may come malware pre-installed. And so, a nation state hacking a wannabe hacker, isn't that a potential risk to the person who wants to get into the field?
Remember how I told you guys I had a vacuum from the other side of the world, and it's just been sitting there because I'm too scared to turn it on. But I spent a lot of money on this thing. Talking to you guys for so long, now I'm paranoid to even use some of the stuff that I have in my house.
Yeah, some of these tools, they want you to plug them in. It could be, I mean, there's testing tools that are USB form. We'll talk about those, I think, in the tools you want to get. But just don't for the ones that you don't want to get are the knockoff ones, right? The ones that are going to be cheaper, that are claiming to be the real stuff, but may not be real, may not work, and it might have malware, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's like another thing that people probably get?
Yeah, it was. How about a sticky pad that says password manager?
So,
Absolutely. My notebook of passwords.
so this is a real thing.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw something on LinkedIn maybe like a week ago where there was a book. I think it was in Australia, where the person took the picture of it, and it was like kind of like a diary book with like the little key on it on the front, and then it said passwords. Like literally said passwords on the actual cover.
Was it really a password book though, or was it? I mean, I'd carry one of those around as a normal notebook, but not put my passwords in it.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line there, because I think most people would kind of say, yeah, this is kind of a joke, right? Maybe there's some sarcasm there.
Well, grandma wouldn't know, right? So if grandma's buying you, she knows that you want to get into cybersecurity. She might be like, "Oh, cool, get this password book."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking is like certain age groups or certain demographic probably wouldn't actually know that it was a joke. Oh gosh, an acronym sheet is top on the list. This is wild.
That's recommended. I mean, you don't even need to buy that. You could probably just ask Gen AI, give me an acronym list for cybersecurity.
This is the wild part, is if someone is not necessarily in security and they're Googling these things, like they're just getting a bunch of trash, which I think is the whole idea here, is like there's so much out there that people don't want that comes up as a top pick.
I saw that, in the hacking tools area, there were, let's say, USB drives that had pre-installed tools on it. And obviously, we talked about it on this episode, this podcast, on the previous episodes, where, you don't want to plug in just random USBs, but you certainly don't want to plug in a USB that says it has hacking tools on it. You don't know where it came from, right? But again, parents and grandparents may not know this, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, just get Junior this USB full of cracking tools." That's what they want to do. So if you get one of those, definitely do not plug it in.
No, definitely not. This is actually really interesting. So here's what's crazy is I've never actually Googled gifts for a cybersecurity student. And I have not found anything that I think people actually would want.
Yeah, and if you come across one that says, the cyber certification with 100% pass rate, you probably don't want to buy that one either.
Yeah, for sure. And then if you're a parent or you're buying for somebody in cyber, you think about your child's going into the field and you want to get them a certification. So you go out and buy the study book for the CISSP. Not a good fit because he's not ready for that yet, need experience, etc. So make sure you're looking for the right level and skill level for that person.
Well, we can move into let's move into the real gifts.
I think we should break it up into price ranges. So
yeah,
we'll say we have a low price or low, probably. I think $100.
We say under $100, right? So I think there's a few things, right? There's some really good books out there that you could go purchase, depending on what they're into. I think if you're into hardware hacking, there's a book called The Hardware Hacker by Andrew Bunny Huang. So that's like what, $30-$40, especially if you want to do some hardware testing. That's a good start. Another hardware tool you could get is maybe a YubiKey, and so most organizations will give you a YubiKey, but if you're just getting started, you're in high school, you're in college, you can get a YubiKey and tie that into your Amazon, Google, or Microsoft accounts if you're using their cloud services for testing or for scripting. And that will probably be a really good protection for MFA against your personal projects. So I'd say YubiKey is like what, $50 roughly. So those two things combined, like a YubiKey, $50, and that hardware book for $30, $40. It's under $100 right there.
Troy mentioned this a few weeks ago that I think your daughter starting cybersecurity, right? Early in her career,
Yep.
right? Like
She's interning. Yeah, absolutely.
have you bought her anything recently? Like under $100?
No, I haven't bought her anything yet, but she just keeps taking stuff off my bookshelf. So that's, I haven't had to buy her anything yet. But, I think something like a Raspberry Pi, I know we talked about that earlier. They used to be under $100. I'm not sure if they still are, but definitely something to invest in so they can actually learn the operating system and learn how to set up a new PC and all the peripherals that go with it and so on.
I think you can start. Yeah, I think you can start under $100, and then you can build it up, right? Add stuff to it.
There's another thing too I was thinking about that you see at every hacker conference, like Black Hat or RSA, is a lockpicking set. And I'm not sure how cybersecurity and lockpicking have come to go together, but they seem to always be together at the conferences. I thought that would be interesting to buy for someone. I know it's not going to get them into a cyber job, but as you look at pen testing and some of the mental side of picking complex puzzles, a lockpick set is pretty cool.
I think it goes with physical security and physical penetration testing. I enjoy lockpicking. I have a lockpick set on my desk that I'll fiddle with, and I try to get more difficult locks to pick while I'm doing calls, Zoom calls.
Do you have one of the guns, Damian? Do you have one of the little guns that you put in the thing?
No, I do have one. I don't use it because that I feel like just clicking it is too easy. I like to hand pick it and feel the pins.
It's a cheat code, I guess. Maybe the easy button.
Yeah. For the easy locks. There's other ways you could like shim a lock, and so maybe a lockpicking book, right? On how pins work. I think there's a lot of videos out there as well that young people can go and watch. But you're right. I don't know how the whole lockpicking became a thing within the hacker community. I discovered it at DefCon. I want to say like maybe 10 years ago when I first started going. And they had the lockpicking village, and that's where I kind of picked it up. But that's a good one. I think a good, decent lockpick set would probably be like $50. Don't do the cheap ones. The cheap ones just break.
Yeah, I've seen some that are like $100. Yeah, at one of the events I went to, I think like back in February of this year, the Cactus Con, they had a whole table with like sets. And then you can actually buy them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it came in useful for me. So my young kids, we just had moved into a house a while ago. This is years ago, and they locked their bedroom door, and we didn't have a key for it because it was a brand new house, and we weren't left with the key for the bedroom. And so I pulled out the lockpick set and picked it in 2 seconds. It was really easy.
Really? Like
now, a lot of people say, well, you could have used that. You could have used the. There's another. I was in an office. I won't say what company, but they had locked their meeting room door. It locks from the inside for some reason, and they also didn't have the key. I didn't have my lockpick set because I was traveling. It was an international place, and I don't travel with my lockpicks because some countries, believe it or not, will put you in jail for carrying lockpicks. So I didn't carry it, but once you realize how that. How the actual door works, you can just slide a credit card in and pop it open, which is what I did. So I helped out the local team open that door using a credit card. So it does come in useful, not for malicious purposes, but for real purposes that you need to use those skills.
That's wild. I never owned a lockpick set. So is it any lockpick set? Or is it like a specific kind, or is it just kind of blanket?
There's different types of picks and sizes and shapes, but quite honestly, and different techniques. You can like rake the locks. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it. There's so much you could do, but quite honestly, all you need is a standard pick and a torque. That's it. So you just walk around with two things in your pocket. But yeah, if you're going international outside of the United States, just realize that some countries do not look kindly on these types of tools. So I do not travel with them when I go international.
It kind of reminds me of like like a little Swiss Army knife, like the little tiny ones. Like, yeah, it's just a little thing, right? But you have that in your bag and you hop on a plane. I can't imagine they're going to be happy with you. So it makes sense, but wow, if anyone ever bought me a lockpick set and I happen to hop on a plane and go somewhere international, I'm for sure going to jail, because before you told me that, I would have never even thought that was going to be an issue.
Yeah, they consider it burglary tools. Some states even have a challenge with it. So just got to check where your local laws are and such. But they consider it part of burglary tools. There's a law against carrying around things that you might use for, breaking into things.
I guess that makes sense, but I guess the only people that have lockpick sets are the ones that are trying to pick locks. So unless you're doing it, unless you're doing it for work, right? There's really no reason that you need it, I guess. Maybe is the thought, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any pen testing contract that most professionals would have to go through. You got to have that letter of authorization. So if you're going to pick somebody's lock, hopefully the owner's there to back you up to say, yeah, I locked my keys in there. I need help. Protects you, right? But make sure that is the owner, right? Not somebody else trying to break in and using your skills to let them in.
And then going back to the Raspberry Pi, I think if you bought someone a Raspberry Pi for Christmas, that'd be a great gift. But you also want to give them a book of different things you can do with the Raspberry Pi. There's so many things that you can do. It's almost limitless. But, things like a DNS sinkhole, or setting up a game server, an emulation server, or, there's so many different interesting things that you want to keep it fun, because especially people who are getting started in the field, they want to be engaged as they start learning. Setting up something that's fun is always a good way to keep yourself interested in what you're doing, and that's going to help you grow in the field.
So to add to the under 100, I think there's one more. Hack5 makes a tool called the Rubber Ducky, and the Rubber Ducky's been around for a long time. I mean, I played with it when they first released it. It's still around. You can still get it. I think it's about $100, maybe cheaper if you can find it on sale. But that just essentially acts like a virtual keyboard or a device, a USB device. And so, did you guys ever watch Mr. Robot?
I did not.
No? Oh my God. You got to watch Mr. Robot. No, he uses any of these hacking shows. Go watch Mr. Robot. It's another show you should go watch. But you plug in the USB and it automatically sends commands, because it's faster than pulling out a keyboard. So you can preload it with like a script that just emulates a keyboard that generates a whole bunch of commands, and it's a lot quicker than actually typing it out, right? It will go 5 seconds. You can input a bunch of commands and then download stuff and then out, right? So these things do exist. Obviously, for the pen tester, somebody wants to get into it and wants to see how these work, or the person who wants to defend against these attacks and want to learn how they work. I think it's a great tool to play around with. But again, these tools, make sure that you're using them in the right context and not getting into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're talking about on this show is using it for good or for work purposes, nothing nefarious. But it makes me think of the Flipper Zero. I'm not sure how much that costs, though. Might be under $100?
$200.
Oh, okay, it's in the 200 category, so we'll get there. But I like the Flipper Zero. We'll talk about that in a minute.
So under the $100, pretty much got it all covered.
There's one more. For I think $50 to $100, you can get a USB blocker. So you know how we talked about, plugging in your phone to charge with those public USBs. They do sell a little device that you can plug in between your phone and that cable, and it will block any data downloads. So it will strictly just enable the power, and if it's malicious, it shouldn't transfer any data or install anything within your phone.
It's called a write blocker. Yeah, so we use those in forensics as well. So when you're making a forensic copy of a hard drive, you want to make sure to use a write blocker so that the original stays in the original condition. Even plugging into a hard drive and powering it up changes bits on the disk. So you want to make sure to have a write blocker in place before you do a forensic image, so that you can take that image and put it in an encase or FTK to do your forensic analysis of it.
Yeah, I'd say the one thing, Troy, the forensic ones are really, really expensive. Like the one they sell to companies and enterprises, super expensive. You do have the ability to get consumer grade stuff that will block the data transfer for under $100 now. So if you really do need to use that charger at the airport, just carry one of these in your bag and you can put it in between.
We said you can't get juice jacked if you have one of those. What about like the wallets? So you know how there's your cards have the chip in them?
RFID. Yeah, the RFID blocking wallets. That's another good one. Actually, not even just for the person that wants to get into cyber, but for everyone.
Yeah, so I actually have one. And well, I don't know, it's in my backpack, I think. But yeah, I think it was only like $50, I believe. And it's actually kind of nice because it kind of like expands as you add more cards to it. But yeah, in the middle, it's, I guess, protected, right? So especially if you're traveling abroad, making sure that you have your stuff kind of locked up between some sort of blocker, I think is definitely a good one. So, okay. Anything else for like under $100? I feel like, I mean, I don't know. Dude, what do people normally spend on Christmas these days? Like for like their friends? I don't have any, so I don't buy any presents for them. So I'm kind of curious.
So
what do people
Troy,
spend?
we're not getting presents from Fern this year. I think you just told that's just a secret way of telling us we're not getting gifts this year. Thanks, Fern.
That's right.
I spent all my money on this Santa Claus hat. This thing is like huge. And then I can't think of the last time I bought anyone presents except for my kids. I kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a Scrooge, but I kind of feel like Christmas is mostly just for kids now, right? You just get your kids stuff or you get other kids stuff. And maybe this is my cry for a present from you guys.
I got you some Dummies books. So I'll wrap them for you too.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a Christmas present since I've been an adult from anyone that's outside of my family. To be honest, I don't think I ever have. So maybe that's what happened. I've just been left out in the cold to fend for myself. So now I don't really think about buying presents for other people. So this is interesting for me because I don't even know what people spend on Christmas if it's not for their kids. So
I think you're right, Fern. I definitely have seen a decline in getting gifts for folks outside your immediate family. Even within my family, we've kind of shrunk it down to just the kids. You know, we used to give to sisters and siblings and brothers, and now it's just let's buy for the kids. I think it's not just the economy. I think it's also the culture of the world kind of changing a little bit. We should get back to gift giving. It's a great feeling to get a gift, to give a gift.
All the gifts that we're talking about are not just toys, right? These are things that would enhance somebody who wants to get into the field. And so I think these are more educational than they would be, things that get wasted, get put on the shelf and never get touched again. Mm-hmm. Now, if you do get one of these cool tools, like you get a Raspberry Pi and you never touch it, well, maybe cybersecurity isn't for you. Right? But there's so much stuff. Like Troy was saying, there's so many things you could do. You could do home automation. You can run emulators. There, you can turn it into, a honeypot for your home network. Somebody hits that, it sets off a bunch of alerts. You can turn it into a VPN proxy. So instead of going out there and paying for these VPN services that you don't know who's looking at that traffic on the termination end, you just terminate it at your home network using a Raspberry Pi. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do with a Raspberry Pi. I would say let's move up into the next level because I think it gets a little bit more exciting. Let's say like 100 to 200.
What's on your mind for that?
Well, since we were just talking about the Raspberry Pi, I think that the base board is probably under 100. But to make it actually useful, you can have these add-ons. So there's like an add-on board where you can add an SSD drive to it. So if you combine those two together and then get a 3D printed case, because they don't come with cases, they just come with a board, you're probably looking at maybe 150 total. So under 200, you could probably get a really good Raspberry Pi setup with much more power.
Well, how many different use cases can you throw on these? Is it just dependent on the storage capacity that they come with?
And compute. Yeah, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, but you can have multiple, right? You can get multiple of these and deploy them. I know a lot of pen testers will take them and just drop them in random locations to sniff network traffic and then call back to it to find out what information's gotten. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. It's pretty much just a mini computer that you can anything you can think of, you could probably do and hide it because it's so small.
But I think from what I've seen, they're fit like right in your hand, right?
Yeah, I think I have two here, but I can show you next time I'm in the studio. I'll bring it, show you how small it is.
Just don't plug it into anything. I don't know. drop it into my computer, and all of a sudden
leave it in the studio. Well, so speaking of that, I think the second thing I would probably, in this range, is something called a packet squirrel. It's another Hack 5 tool. So I think, this is not a sponsored podcast whatsoever, but I do like all the tools that Hack 5 has on their website. The packet squirrel is one of those where if you can sneak that in and plug it in, it's sort of like a man in the middle for the network. So now you could essentially send commands, monitor traffic, and it has a full web interface, so it's pretty easy to use and pretty easy to load scripts into. I think that's like $150.
It is actually. I'm not familiar with this, so I was just looking it up as you were describing it. And the packet squirrel, Google told me, "Did you mean pocket squirrel?" Which is an actual animal. It's like, no, packet squirrel.
Sounds like an adult toy.
Yeah. I want the packet squirrel, not the pocket squirrel.
I was like, what is that? But the packet squirrel sounds a little bit like Wireshark, a little bit.
A little bit, except that you would, like, if I really wanted to monitor Fern's traffic, when I'm in studio, I just reach behind his computer, plug it in, and now it's in line in his network, and I can get access to it at any time.
Does it log the packets? Does it actually like save them into a file, or?
I think there's a lot you could do with it. You can actually connect it up to the cloud, and you could, like a cloud C2, essentially.
Interesting. Well, this goes back to explaining why physical security is so important. Making sure that all your public ports are locked down or not active, and somebody can't just walk in and plug into them. We see so many times that people feel like, oh, well, the building is secure, so I can light up every port for convenience. But then again, you have folks like us, or folks like pen testers, or God forbid, nefarious people that could walk in and just plug right in.
So I'm kind of learning as you guys are telling me about these things, because they're actually pretty cool looking. But from what I can tell, you just plug in Ethernet on both sides, so it's like in and out, and then it's essentially like a
man in the middle
series, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't even know. So unless you're actually, how many people actually look at the back of their computer to see all the cables and whether somebody has added a device? And then when you look at this, you wouldn't even know what it is.
That's what I was thinking. Like, so a lot of times, like when you go to a hotel to, like, say you're going to, like, the holidays are coming up, right? You're going to go on vacation, maybe you're going to go somewhere and you're going to get a room somewhere. Most of these computers have the Ethernet port on the back or on, there, right? So as long as it has an Ethernet port that plugs in, if this is in line and it's there before, the line that comes in goes to the computer, like, there's really no way to detect this, is there?
There's probably ways that you can detect it, but most normal people probably wouldn't see it, wouldn't even know.
Oh, for sure. They're just like, oh, that's just a computer part in the back, right? Because like, if someone were to plug into a USB into a port on the USB, Troy said you can lock them down, right? You can always shut down all the spare ports on a PC or something that is open to the public where they walk up to it, but you wouldn't necessarily do that with the Ethernet. So that's where I'm kind of wondering, like, this thing looks like it could do some damage, especially if it's put somewhere where the person that sees it doesn't actually know what it is.
Exactly. So anyways, that's another cool one, right? You play around with it. Obviously, be careful. But if you wanted to see, can I detect something like this, put it on your own computer and see if you can detect it. All right. A lot of cool uses for these types of tools. But at $150, I think it's a pretty cool tool to play around with.
Yeah, and they have a remote access kit too for a couple $100.
Yeah, I think there's you can join an online community and they'll even share scripts with you. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so let's move up, right? We were talking about Flipper Zero, and yeah, this is the story where I saw a young person. I think he was like 16. He's actually connected on my LinkedIn. I think he listens to our podcast, where he was using a Flipper Zero inside of a restaurant. and I was standing behind him in line, and I just said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he thought I was the police because he knew that he probably shouldn't have been doing that in public. Anyways, the Flipper Zero, if for those, you should know what it is. Hopefully, if you're watching this podcast, if you don't, go Google it real quick. It's a really cool multi-tool for cyber testing. It can do radio frequency listening and also sending, right? So it can actually replicate, let's say, garage door openers. It can change, like if you're at the airport, it could probably scan the IR for the TV and change the TV channel. So there's a lot of cool things that it could do. Probably a lot of things you shouldn't do with it in public, but it's $200. So that's something you want to probably put on your list. Just make sure you get the official one and not the knockoff one from these other sites that might have malware pre-programmed.
Mm-hmm.
I know what these are. So that's a start, right? I didn't realize that you could actually buy them without getting in trouble, but I thought they were something that was kind of like frowned upon, kind of like the lockpick set if you're traveling. So it's not actually hard to get these? Because I just assumed that it was something that was really hard to get and you had to know someone that knew someone.
No. Yeah, you buy it right now.
Let me see. Click it. See what it lets me do. Add the Wi-Fi. $200. Yeah, $199. Add to cart. American Express. Apple Pay. Ships it. Delivered from Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you remember you were talking about the RFID blocking wallets? Well, this is the reason why. So you can get one of these Flipper Zeros and actually use it to scan RFID and then replicate the signal. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. It might be useful. Like let's say you don't want to carry all your access cards. You can scan them all into the Flipper Zero. Now you got one device that has all of your access. So that would be useful without the actual testing component to it, where you would go and scan somebody else's access card. But this is a lesson, right? If you have access cards, don't just leave them out on the table. Let's say you go to happy hour to a bar after work. Don't just leave your key cards out on the table, because somebody could come by and scan it, get the frequency from that, and then replicate it.
And then essentially they just walk around and this acts as the key itself, right?
Acts as the key card, yeah. Because it can replicate that frequency.
So it can do it on your cars, your garage door, anything with any sort of radio frequency, right?
Yeah, your neighborhood entry gate.
So my understanding on how these work is all you have to do is be present to capture the signal, right? So like if, well, I have an older car, right? I like I think it's a 2015 Yukon. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And I have like the little key fob, right? Same exact thing, right? That just sends the radio signal. So if I'm pressing the button to unlock my car just right outside the office here, and someone happens to have a Flipper Zero, they can just capture that signal, and then all of a sudden they can unlock or lock my car, right?
Yeah, most modern cars though now have rolling codes. So hopefully, if you have a newer car, it would have that rolling code where even if you clicked it and they captured the signal once, it's not useful on the next click, unless they know the algorithm of how that rolls over. Garage doors are the same. So most modern garage doors will have a rolling code where it's not the same frequency every single time. There's like a different code. But again, if you hack the algorithm, you know how you can predict what the next code will be, or the next 10 codes will be, and you can try them all.
Yeah, you said modern. My car's like 10 years old. So I might be cooked. Okay. Yeah, wow. I've seen these. I just always thought that you couldn't actually get these, so I've never actually looked into them. But okay. For $200, that's definitely a good gift. So on the higher side was the Flipper Zero, the Raspberry Pi, the Packet Squirrel, right? What else is in there that's kind of in that same around $200 to maybe $300?
Well, I think one of the things we were talking about was education or certifications. I think in the previous episode we talked about certifications. We mentioned Security Plus. right? I think that was one of the ones we said was probably good for somebody getting started. There is, I think there's a course. I remember there was a book or a course by Professor Messer. I don't know if that's the right name. We can look it up and put it up on the screen or the description. And everybody used to use that as their study guide, especially if you didn't want to. You couldn't do the boot camps and you couldn't afford it. I think for $100 you could probably buy the education set. So yeah, whether it's that one specifically or any other legitimate material to prepare for Security Plus, you might be looking at for a good set around the $100 range, $100 to $150 range. So maybe look into that, and then also, if you're going to be going down that path, make sure there's some good reviews on it, and you're not just buying something that's AI generated. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the official, what's the official CompTIA material? I thought, Fern, you looked into it.
I did, but I didn't buy it. You guys scared me on what
I think the study guides are like $49.99 or something like that.
Oh yeah, the books themselves were less than $100, and I think it was like around $50 per set, if I'm not mistaken. And it depends on the set that you get, but yeah, it was for sure under $100 per op.
So let's say Network Plus and Security Plus, you'd get those two books. You're sitting right, maybe just over $100, roughly $100. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know you guys weren't there because obviously Troy's in Vegas, and Damian, I think you were in Vegas at the time too. But I went to the Arizona State Cyber Summit here. I was in Phoenix about a week and a half ago, and I spoke with Andrew over at the Ginger Hacker, right? And what he's doing, and I saw something recently as well, is he's doing a lot of giveaways, right? And he has it where he's kind of partnered with a few people to where now he's able to give certifications. I think between like $100 and $500 that they're giving away now. So would you say, well, one, I guess go look into the Ginger Hacker. I think it's called the Ginger Hacker Initiative because he's doing a lot of helping people break into cyber with free material and like course related stuff and exam vouchers. But would you guys say like an exam voucher might fall in this category or?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how many exam vouchers are actually under $200 in this category. Maybe slightly more, but yeah, obviously the study material and then exam vouchers, because some of them can run $400, right? So it's probably a little bit higher. I think those would probably be really useful for somebody who want to get started. But yeah, I think in a future episode, let's bring Andrew, the Ginger Hacker, onto this, and we'll talk about the stuff that he's doing. But I think if anything's going to increase your knowledge and get you certified in something, that's probably going to be a good investment.
Just don't go for the CISSP, even though it's on every job application.
Well, they do. So just to be clear, right? ISC Squared does have other certifications. CISSP is the top one. And if you're just getting started, you probably don't qualify for it. But you can do the lower ones that prepare you then for CISSP once you hit that 5-year experience.
I think maybe there's a lot of emphasis on the CISSP because you see it so often on most, if not all, applications for most career paths. Whether it's required or not is another thing, but it's usually listed as like preferred, I think, is what I kind of have seen most often. So I think if there's maybe some people that are kind of newer, right, just automatically think that they have to go for that. And to the point that you guys mentioned earlier, is you don't go straight for the CISSP, right? There's other things that you can do, like Network Plus, Security Plus. So
I'll give you a couple more for under $200.
Okay.
So I think credits for AWS, GCP, Microsoft, Azure, you could probably do a lot with a couple $100 in credits to be able to spin up your own instances and do some testing. That's an easy one. And then obviously the other, along the same lines would be access to AI tools. So, Google Gemini 3, it is what, $20 a month. So you could potentially get, a full year for roughly around $200. And then also, I think Anthropic as well. You could go pay for a paid license for about $200 a year, and that would get you, going with some AI use cases and maybe some APIs into AI and AI coding and testing.
Definitely make sure you get the voucher or the credits though, because I've had it where I've put a credit card on file with AWS, and I fell into the issue of checking back and getting like a bill for like $400, $500 because I forgot that I left stuff up and running. So the credits or the vouchers seem to be an easy way to avoid that, but I've never actually used those. So
it doesn't avoid that, Fern. I think what you need to do is you need to remember that you have these resources running, and depending on what plan you're on. So I have the same where within AWS I have my own personal instances, and I budget a certain amount every month. But if I forget to spin down the services and they run or they do stuff that I don't need at that time, I'm getting charged, obviously. So I got to remember every month to go back in and then make sure to review all the instances I have running, the resources I'm using within the cloud platform.
That's exactly what I didn't do. So when I got the bill, I'm like, wait, what is this for? And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to turn that off. Happens all the time in business, right?
You want to go to the gift of all gifts, like budget's no limit.
So now we're talking big Papa gifts, big Saint Nick gifts. I can think of at least two that are somewhat expensive, and I think those would be a pass to Black Hat and a pass to DefCon. So DefCon obviously on the lower side, and then Black Hat being the higher side. And I think the early bird for that was
3,000.
I think
roughly.
But that's like a year in advance. So the nice part is, if you're looking to do something like this for Christmas for someone, it's going to be probably around $3,000. But I think like up until the week before, it's like $4,000 or $4,500, I believe.
Yeah, it's more expensive the closer you get. So yeah, that's a good gift, right? If you have $3,000, get somebody past the Black Hat and DefCon early bird special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't try and be like me where you try and show up for a few $100, right? Because as Damian pointed out, I didn't actually go to any of the trainings. I was just like LobbyCon, right? So you can get in for less than $500, but you're not going to learn anything. You might just get a few free drinks and a few pairs of socks. But yeah, $3,000 for Black Hat. I don't know what DefCon is, but I imagine it's less than 1,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think $400.
Okay. What else is there?
So I would say, look, a new computer, right? Mm-hmm. That's always on. I would, if you get a brand new MacBook Pro, I don't know what the Windows equivalent would be, but a gaming PC is probably equivalent. You're looking at like $3,000, right? So that's another $3,000 ticket.
Anything specific on those? I mean, that's kind of a heavy duty machine for someone to get. But like you said, if there's no budget, or if there's no ceiling on the price, I guess it doesn't really matter specifically, as long as it's a Mac. Is there? And obviously, I don't hack on a Mac, right? Or I don't do some of these things, but just we'll say average person, right? Me, I don't really understand what the reasoning is between Mac versus Windows. I've seen most people in security tend to be iPhone users, right? Some Android, but a lot of people that I've seen, and actually when I was selling a lot of computers to actually a pen testing team, they would always buy Mac, and I never asked the question why.
Well, I'll tell you from my perspective, I started my career as a Unix administrator, so the Unix commands and the command line is a lot more comfortable for me. And when you go to a Unix, a Mac command prompt, that's all Unix, Linux. style.
Mhm.
So it's a lot easier for me to get around on command line on a Mac versus PowerShell Windows.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree. I think if you have a powerful enough Mac to run Parallels, you could have a Windows device in your inventory as well. So if there was some specific, network TCP/IP need for a Windows machine, you could spin one up pretty quickly. But using the terminal inside Mac is my favorite as well.
Yeah, and it's like Troy said, right? I think it's a lot easier to virtualize a Windows machine than it is to virtualize a Mac.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense now. Okay. So it's not like anything specific outside of those things, right? It's not like only certain softwares can only run on a Mac, right? It's nothing like
Not anymore these days. I think somebody's making an application. First of all, I don't know how many applications are still thick client. You need to actually install it on the machine versus it's a SaaS service now. So I think that OS will probably be it's look at Google and the Chromebook. Well, you don't really keep anything local in that style. Everything is in the cloud. And so I think that's probably where everything is running majority wise. There's not anything that it is Windows only or Mac only these days.
It comes down to preferences, really. Most people are just more comfortable on one or the other. They've kind of built their life and career around a certain operating system, so it's just a comfort level.
I've just recently got into the Apple ecosystem, and I'm kind of wondering why I wasn't here sooner. I think my favorite part is when I'm using my my laptop, and then I have something happen on my phone, but I have my headphones in. I pick up my phone. It's like it just transfers to my phone. It blows my mind. Never had that with a PC, and maybe I just never had the right headset for that. But yeah, that's wild to me that it just swaps back and forth. But like I said before, welcome to 2025 for me.
All right, how about we do a giveaway? I'd say if we get over 10 comments on the YouTube side, we give away a hacker hoodie, a black hoodie. This is hacker on it, randomly to one of the commenters. We got to see at least a minimum of 10, and then we'll
Isn't
randomly
that one
give.
of the ones we said we didn't want to give away?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to give it away. Yeah.
We told you this is trash, so here you go.
And we're going to give it to you.
And you said it says hacker on it?
Yeah, I think we should make fun of it.
Okay. So 10 comments and you get a free hoodie. Or it's so
one person out of we have to have a minimum of 10. But we'll randomly choose one person who comments, and you got to be a subscriber, and we'll send you a hoodie that says hacker on it.
Okay. Any other giveaways? Nah. We're trying. We just give away one terrible gift.
One terrible gift until we get some sponsors, and we can give away. The problem is that giving away pen test tools. I'd be worried about liability and things that people would do with a gift we give them. To be honest.
Oh yeah, like they hop on a plane, or and they get a lockpick set, and they're like, "Yeah, we got it from Damian and Troy." They didn't get it from me; they got it from you guys. And then all of a sudden, hot water everywhere. Yeah, I think that's fine. So you said 10 comments, must be subscribed, and we'll just pick someone, and then we'll be good. Mail it to them, huh?
Yeah, we'll take it out of your pay. Sure.
Oh, 0.99. Actually, 0.
We're taking it out of Fern's salary.
Yes. What's 100% of nothing? Nothing. Okay, I think that's fine. I think we can definitely do that. So we covered all the gifts that you don't want, and on the first one on the list was the hacker hoodie. So the one gift you don't want, we're giving it away. The other gift you don't want was Hacking for Dummies, right? The book. Some of the other ones were some of those like $199 courses, guaranteed passes. Don't get those. Nothing to do with acronyms. Nothing to do with things that you could easily Google. I think those are the main things. Right? Was there something else that I forgot? Coffee mugs? No. Yeah. So we covered all the ones you don't want. We cover all the ones that you do want, or not you,
A lot of-
specific ones that people would want.
Uh,
What are you gonna say?
A lot of cool ones in there for every price
Mhm.
level, right? Under 100, 100 to 200, and unlimited budget.
Mhm.
The big Saint Nick present is Black Hat, right? Is there anything else? Well, hang on. If you wanted to go one step further than Black Hat, you could buy someone a Sands course. that's like
There you go.
2.5 years of Black Hat. So for $10K, you can get someone a course. It's probably not going to get them a job in cyber, but they can at least put it on their resume. So okay. So yeah, we cover the full spectrum. Things that you don't want, things that you would want, and then the price range from, basically nothing all the way up to 10 grand. So hopefully that helps the people listening either shop for their friends, if they're not like me and they actually have friends, shop for their friends, shop for their loved ones that are looking to get into cyber, or for themselves, right? I don't know how many people know about all these things that we talked about today, but I definitely didn't know of a few as I'm Googling while you guys are talking about it. So I think it was a good list. Is there anything that we missed on?
No, I mean, if you guys listening, watching this, have other ideas, drop them in the comments.
Mhm.
Right? If there's anything you do get over the holidays that you thought was cool, and you're watching this after the holidays, just drop those as well. We'd like to hear about them.
Yeah. Tell us how the Flipper Zero went when you happen to use it at what was this kid using it for? Just so I know, because I'm kind of curious on what he was actually doing.
I don't know. I mean, I can suspect what he was doing, but I will actually try to. I've been in touch with him, and we'll get him on either a future episode, and we can ask him about being a 16-year-old and trying to do some open source intelligence he's testing out. It'll be kind of cool, right? To get a 16-year-old on here on the other side of the world talking about what interests him. I will either do it on this podcast or I'll do it in person when I travel to his country.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm really curious. It sounds like you don't want to spoil the surprise, but I'm kind of curious on.
Well, no, I also don't want to incriminate him if he was doing anything illegal. So we could suspect what he was doing. I don't want to make any assumptions.
He was trying to get free Jollibee. It's a card swiped. I don't know. Yeah, we have no idea. So, okay. Well, I think we got everything for today. So not much security, more about the gifts and finding yourself in the giving spirit. Any last words, Troy? I know, I don't think I asked you directly. So now I'm asking.
No, I think this is great. Happy gift giving season, and look forward to next week here at the DTF Cyber Podcast.
Nice. Damian, what about you?
No, just remember, right, through the holidays, attackers will try to take advantage because a lot of people might be on holidays, might have thin staff within a SOC or within, people watching for alerts. So be on high alert and just be careful this holiday season.
Yeah. And just keep listening every week. We should have an episode every week. So just keep listening and we'll keep talking about stuff that you need to be aware of to stay safe. And with that, we'll see you next week.